Theft of the Proposal Ring, a crime story brought to you by Grigory Gerasimov. Another beautiful spring day emerged over the picturesque town of Wallingford, and children played outside. Families went out on Victorian-style picnics and admired the warm sunrise that complemented the lovely Sunday morning. Everyone in town loved witnessing the contentment exhibited within a friendly community and have the freedom to relax after a tedious day's work. Every person felt a massive connection to the village, but none more than the very talented young man, Barry White. Being an undergraduate studying psychology at the University of London, he loved spending his free time painting. His artworks and talent inspired many as they showed his deep connection to the British landscape. Barry's fiancée, Charlotte Sanders, constantly supported him since they first met by the River Thames, both watching a glorious spring sunrise. They had been dating for about 2 years, and Barry had kept an engagement ring in his house for a while, believing he was finally ready to propose. As they both sat by the river, he suggested that they go out and have dinner at the Coachmaker's Arms. Accepting the invite, Charlotte wore her lovely pink dress and Barry put on his 12th grade formal suit to look good for the occasion. Night approached and they were both at the restaurant, simply chatting and eating their foie gras and trifle desserts. After dining, Barry dug into his bag and revealed the glossy brown box he put the ring inside. Charlotte's excitement building up so much, she could barely stop crying. He closed his eyes, and as soon as he opened the box and proposed, "Will you marry me?" Charlotte shrieked so loud that the entire restaurant fell silent to watch her full of rage, staring at a dead cockroach. She punched Barry's face with all her might, screaming, "How could you put this rotten bug in there? I thought you loved me!" He too freaked out seeing the ring missing, knowing that he placed it in the box. He believed a theft occurred behind his back. In an instant, Barry stood and ran after Charlotte through the crowd's mockery, people exclaiming, "Proposing with a dead cockroach! Ha ha ha!" But she disappeared into the dark back streets. He called the police and requested forensics to observe the exact restaurant table that the incident occurred. The moment they arrived, Barry tried being very specific by explaining exactly what happened. In doing so, the police understood the incident better and demanded the restaurant closed for inspection to gather information and clues. Barry also explained briefly the appearance of the ring. "It's a diamond ring and has our initials, B, G, and CS carved around the interior." As Barry waited anxiously, the forensic police gently dredged the floor with white powder like flour on a loaf of bread and saw shoe prints that were obviously bigger than his. The powder was also sprinkled on the box and 4 fingerprints on the sides were spotted and collected with transparent tape to be taken to the forensic lab, again larger and with a much different pattern than his. The police headed back to the station and informed that they were going to take the clues and help as much as they could to solve the case. The following day, the police arrived at the park where they had planned to meet Barry. They presented 2 different drawings stating that there were 2 possible thieves. The first one depicted a slim 16-year-old boy with blonde hair, younger than Barry by about 6 years, and the second one depicted a bulky 30-year-old man with light brown hair and blue eyes. Knowing that the suspects were in town, the police split up into 2 groups and strolled around, asking locals if the drawings portrayed people they knew. The younger suspect named Joe was found chilling by the river and was slim with blonde hair, as accurately drawn on paper. He explained, "I was not at the Coachmaster's Arm last night because I was celebrating my brother's party. And coincidentally, his little brother was next to him and agreed with that." After, conclusions were drawn that the 16-year-old boy was innocent. Barry was with the other group of police and they found the second suspect, Robert, who was having lunch at a bar with his friend. He was a bulky 30-year-old man with light brown hair and blue eyes, as accurately illustrated on another sheet of paper. Robert pointed at the house he lived in, which was just opposite the bar, and right next to where the crime occurred on Sunday night, explaining, "I was at home, eating dinner, with the windows open because my house needed ventilation, and I could hear a woman screaming and it looked like you who ran after her, Barry. I don't know what happened that made her scream." After the second suspect was interviewed, police concluded that both suspects were innocent, and they left Barry since they had no other ways of helping him. As night approached, Barry was very doubtful he was going to find the thief, and thought deeply about Charlotte, with whom he was no longer a partner, after being blamed for placing the dead cockroach in the box. The next morning, loud bells were heard chiming from the local church, with a huge crowd swarming for what Barry thought was a mass. "How can there be a mass on Tuesday?" he questioned. He quickly rushed to witness what was happening, and inside, he was utterly enraged by what he saw. His fiancée, Charlotte, was about to marry Barry's old high school classmate, Alfred Freestick. Immediately, he yelled, "Stop! My old friend, Alfred! Or should I say, betrayer!" And the crowd fell silent. Charlotte was confused, and with his gestures, Alfred attempted to lie to Charlotte to cover up his theft. "Barry, you're jealous," lied Alfred. As Alfred lied more, Barry ran up and fought him physically to the ground, screaming, "You're jealous! You stole the ring and swapped it with that dead bug! You are the thief the police must arrest!" The moment Barry secured Alfred on the floor, he told Charlotte, "Take off the engagement ring, it has our initials BG and CS." After viewing the initials carved, Charlotte apologized, and he called the same police that he saw yesterday to arrest Alfred for theft and interference with their relationship. As Alfred left for prison, he grew even more jealous, and Barry never trusted him again as a friend. With affection, Barry proposed to Charlotte, and she accepted. The church minister was entirely speechless, and pronounced them husband and wife, like no chaos occurred during the wedding. Thank you for listening, and if you really enjoyed it, stay tuned for more amazing broadcasts like this one.